Hey guys, here in Hardee County, going to see Byron Donald speak again. Not really going to touch up on him. I'll just see you in there.
To thank him for speaking, and he said he was getting calls from all over the state. Is the president going to call in to our Lincoln Day dinner? Well, maybe not, but he did call into ours. So give a Hardee County warm welcome to our candidate for governor, Congressman Byron Donald.
So before I start with the main stuff, I want to just tell a couple stories. Number one, it's great to be back in Hardee County. Thanks everybody for coming in. Number two, how we met. You remember how we met? You remember? So we met a while ago. I was coming back from Orlando.
Oh, yes.
And I'm driving down 17.
Yes.
Driving down 17.
Yes.
And your victory office had all the buntings and signs out front, and I'm driving down, and I look over and I see it, and so, you know, the guy on my team who was with me, I was like, man, that's the REC office here in Hardee County. We should just go in and say hi. So we make a U-turn, come around, pull into the parking lot. I think it was like a Saturday afternoon, real calm. We walk in, and the first thing that greets us was the dog.
Yeah.
The dog comes, and you know, it's all good. And you were so sweet. You were like, can I help you? And I was like, I'm Congressman Donalds. I love the fact that you guys work hard in Hardee County, and I just wanted to come and just say thank you for all your hard work. And that's how we met.
That's right. That's how we met.
That's how we met.
He had his bodyguard with him at that time. I'm seeing him down. Okay.
Yeah. But you know, it's just like, what's going on? I said, we're just here to say thank you. And I really want to say this. The Republican Executive Committee all across this state, you guys are the ones that help us elected officials not only win in November, but you also help us make sure Florida stays red and that Florida stays conservative. So I just want to thank you on behalf of all my other colleagues. Now I got to tell another story. There's a veteran all the way in the back, and he's got a camera. And you saw me stop and talk to him for a while, him and his wife. But what most people don't know is that back in 2012, when there was some upstart candidate who was trying to run for Congress, he was out knocking doors. And just all over Southwest Florida, all over Lee County, knocking doors. And I came to the house of Jim Fowler. And I knocked on his door back in 2012. And he and his wife opened up the door and they looked at me, and I was a lot younger. I was just a lot younger. And they were like, young man, can we help you? And I said, I'm running for Congress. I'm new at this. Would love to be able to count on your vote. And they were like, well, what do you stand for? We went through it. And they were just like, you know, you came and knocked on our door. That means so much. You can count on our support and our vote. And Mr. and Mrs. Fowler have been in my corner ever since 2012. It is great to see both of you. So now I do want to tell the story about how the president called.
Okay.
All right, so here's what happened. So it's at the Lincoln Reagan dinner here in Hardee County, and big room, it was a great event. We're on the side, we're taking pictures, and this one nice lady comes up to me and she says, Donald Trump's in love with me. And Melania better watch out. I said, really? She goes, yes. I go, well, let's do this. I'm gonna take a selfie and I'm gonna send it to him. And she goes, you will? I said, of course. So we took a selfie, I sent it to him. He calls like 6 to 10 minutes later. Byron, where are you? I said, sir, I'm in Hardee County and they love you. I'm about to keynote this dinner. You are? He goes, yeah. He goes, put me on the microphone. So I come up, I'm like, Sue, give me a mic. She's like, what's going on? We're not ready to start. I said, the president's on the phone. Sue goes, get him a mic, get him a mic. So we put the mic to the phone, said, Mr. President, you're on. President's just talking, and he loves you guys, and he loves the people of this country. He truly, truly does. That is what he's thinking. And by the way, anybody see the UFC fights last night? Yeah. Man. But anyway, so that's how the phone call happened.
Yes.
So here's the thing. So I'm on stage, he finishes, and I'm giving the speech later, and the lady who took the selfie with me, she went in the room. She went to the bathroom. So she missed the whole thing. We were like, he called for you. She's like, I was in the bathroom. At any rate, listen, I wanted to start there because honestly, everybody gets really wrapped up in campaign season. It's tough. We've all been through it multiple times. We're going through it again. But the reason why we spend so much time invested in campaigns and in politics is because we love this country and we love this state. Florida has been the envy of the other 49 states for the last 30 years. And you guys know, especially here, everybody's trying to get here now. They all want a part of that Florida dream. They all want a part of that Florida freedom. More than anything else, they just want to be left alone. They're sick of these states up north that tax them too much, are getting their business all the time, screw up stuff with bad policy, they don't prioritize law and order to keep you safe, and people are just sick of it and they're fed up. That and then the cost is out of control in these states. And so when your quality of life is bad, and then it's unaffordable, that's when people just say, I just can't take it anymore. They've pulled up their stakes and they're trying to call Florida home. My mission as the state's next governor is to make sure that that Florida dream that you and I have lived, I moved to the state 30 years ago. That's when I came to Florida, 30 years ago. Everything in my life has been built in Florida. My job is to make sure, got one young guy over there, you're young too. Actually, so are you. They're younger than me. My job as the state's next governor is to make sure that that Florida dream, which you guys have lived in, that I built for myself, is here for them. Yeah. That's the mission and that's the goal. I get asked all the time, Byron, are you gonna keep us red? The answer is unequivocally yes. I came into politics in the Tea Party movement. That's how I got into politics. I've been in our conservative movement for more than 15 years. When I was in Tallahassee and they tried to take your gun rights away, I voted no against that because shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. Amen. On Capitol Hill, whether it's Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Joe Biden, when they wanted to unleash their crazy across America, and unfortunately, they unleashed a lot of crazy, I was there to stand against them and fight against them. When it came time to stand with President Trump to take this country back and make America great again, I was there standing next to him. And as your next governor, rest assured, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I will be here to stand for you. Because we are the best state in America, and we're not going anywhere. Now, I said that in campaigns we got primaries, and that's okay. I got no problem with primaries. Let's just establish something for the record. In the Republican primary for governor, I am up big, like 40 points big. Yeah. And let me be also clear on this. It's not one poll, it's not two polls, it's not three polls, or four. If you look at the polls, the last 5 of them, they all say the same thing. Amen. That I'm going to be your nominee for governor. And this November, with David Jolly and Gwen Graham, we are going to remind them that Florida is a red state now. Yeah. I want to foreshadow you the campaign you're going to see this fall from the Democrats. They've now run this campaign twice in America, and it worked. The first time they ran it was with the current governor of Arizona, with Katie Hobbs. Katie Hobbs ran a campaign against Kerry Lake, and the Katie Hobbs campaign did nothing. They would just go around the state periodically. They would be very calm and very quiet. They wouldn't say much except, "Hi, how are you? And it is a pleasure. And I'm happy to be here. And so are you. And we just believe in unity and togetherness. And everything is going to be okay." And it was so boring, nobody else heard what she was saying. And it was by design. Because the Democrats don't want to talk about their policy. They want to use the campaign of just being as interesting as a glass of milk and think that's going to save your state and keep your state conservative. In Virginia, just last year, Abigail Spanberger, one of my colleagues from Congress, ran to be their next governor. And she's governor right now. And she wore her nice little suit, and she stood there and wouldn't talk about policy. She wouldn't commit to making sure that boys were not in girls' sports. She wouldn't commit to make sure that we weren't saving the puberty of young kids. She didn't do any of that. She just stood there, and she was very nice, and she would grin, and she would smile, and she would say, "It's all going to be okay. We're all going to work together." And then the second she won, she went in and ripped up every piece of conservative policy that Glenn Youngkin brought to the Commonwealth of Virginia. So let me foreshadow what you're going to see from the Democrats this fall, from David Jolly and Gwen Graham. They're going to come city to city, town to town. And they're going to stand there in their nice suits, and they're going to tell you that Florida's wonderful. It just has to work for everybody. And they're going to tell you that they just believe in good, wholesome Florida values. And they're going to tell you that they just want this thing to be beautiful like it used to be. But let me assure you of something. The Democrats have learned their lesson. Yeah, they're running Graham Plattner in Maine, and they run AOC in New York. But in other parts of America, they run people who won't tell you what they're going to do. They're going to say it's all going to be okay, so you believe it's going to be okay. But they're not going to tell you the facts and the details of how Florida became the very best state in America. We became the best state because we have the best governor in Ron DeSantis. We became the best state because before Ron DeSantis, we had a governor, a businessman named Rick Scott, who rebuilt the economy in the state. We became the best state because in the state legislature and in the state Senate, in the state legislature, we made sure we elected conservatives who used common sense and basic economics to make sure that Florida was a low-tax state, a low-regulation state that stayed out of your way. And for 30 years in the state of Florida, in Tallahassee, we made sure that the insanity from the radical left did not get a foothold in Florida. And that is why our state is the way it is. Let me tell you what my mission is. My mission is to make sure that those same conservative values, the values I chose to be a part of. I was apolitical before 2010, before 2008 actually. I changed parties in 2010. I was apolitical before 2008. I was like most people, not paying attention to politics, just living life, loving sports, loving your family, serving in your church. I was a youth leader for 10 years in my church. I would take kids to summer camp, take a week of my vacation from my office, take them to summer camp. I was like most Americans. I just want to treat people with respect. I just want to live in harmony and peace. That's what I did. And then the financial collapse came along. Everybody remember that one in 2008? You guys might have been too young for that. And when this nation's economy was falling apart because of terrible economic policy from the Democrats, and they came in and they bailed out the big banks, and they were spending more money than we had at the time, I looked up and said, this is crazy. That doesn't work. And I started looking at politics for the first time in my life. And when I started doing my own research, comparing it all, I realized I was a conservative. You see, I wasn't born into conservatism. I wasn't born into the Republican Party. I chose it. So when I tell you that as your next governor, we will remain the free state of Florida, that's not a campaign slogan. That is what I've lived in my life since 2010. It's the guy. I'm sorry. I said, oh,
You go, Byron.
And if you talk to Mr. or Mrs. Fowler in the back, and by the way, I'm their member of Congress now. If you talk to them in the back, the guy that knocked on their door in 2012 is the same guy that's going to be the state's next governor.
Yeah.
Same guy. So I'm going to stop there. I want to answer questions. If you have questions, please ask them.
When are you running for president?
What'd you say?
When are you gonna run for president?
You gotta say that loud. I'm playing with you. I'm focused on being governor of Florida. I don't believe in planning politics. I never have. I think you worry about the thing in front of you and you do that job. And so, look, to be honest, I really don't have any interest in going back to Washington, D.C. Been there long enough. I'm ready to come home. And this state is home to me. Oh, yes, sir.
What are you going to do to protect rural Florida?
This is a great question. The question is, what am I going to do to protect rural Florida? Our state needs regional growth management plans. And you would say, a growth management plan, Byron, that sounds like development. No, what it is a strategy of how you protect rural Florida, how you protect our agriculture lands, of how you protect our conservation areas, and how you protect Florida's beauty and its environment. In our state, we don't really believe in urban sprawl, maybe in Miami, but the rest of the state doesn't do it like that. But what Florida has mastered is suburban sprawl. We build planned unit developments as far as the eye can see. And then we wonder why we didn't update the roads to deal with the new rooftops in those areas. If you want to actually preserve ag lands, which are critical to the future of our state and to the future of our nation, because we got to feed our people. We can't rely on other countries to do it. We got to do it ourselves. If you want to do that, every region of Florida needs a growth management plan. The heartland, right here in Hardee, Okeechobee, Hendry, I can go on and on, Glades, DeSoto, they need a growth management plan. Because we have to know, if you're going to build housing on certain tracts of land, where is it going? How does it fit? How do we still have cattle farms? How do we still grow produce? How do we have row crops? If you're going to be in Southeast Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, how are you going to manage that growth over the next 30 years without a plan? I live in Collier County. Collier, Lee, and Charlotte needs a growth management plan. What's that going to look like over the next 30 years? And so on and so forth. The Panhandle. Northeast Florida, the heartland north of I-4, because we really got two heartlands. We got northern Florida heartland and southern Florida heartland, and then the I-4. And by the way, around Cape Canaveral, the Space Coast, we're going to be doing 1,000 launches a year off the Space Coast here in Florida. And it's going to be amazing. But folks, how do we bring all that together and still protect our ag lands? And that's why you got to have a plan and a strategy. I spent 17 years in the business world. I'm the only person running for governor that's actually worked in the private sector. Let that sink in for a moment. I've actually worked in the real world, not politics, the real world. And whether it was banking, insurance, financial services, let me tell you, the only way you actually maintain your future is with a plan and a strategy. We want regional plans. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to the lady first. I gotta check. I'm gonna come to the lady. I'm gonna come to you. Then I'm gonna go to you. Then I'm gonna go to the lady over there. Then I'm gonna come to you. Everybody remember the order? Bing, 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 bing. All right, here we go. Yes, ma'am.
I know Governor DeSantis has laws put in place for abortion rights.
Yes.
Are you going to carry that forward?
Yes, ma'am.
And follow him?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That law will not change. We will keep that law in place. Let me also add, in my opinion, the next step in the pro-life movement, and I am pro-life, is actually investing and supporting our pregnancy resource centers. That is the next step. Because the radicals on the left will say, oh, they're just going to leave you on your own. You're not going to have any ability to get any help. So that's why you got to go to Planned Parenthood. We got to demonstrate to people that no, we want to help a young girl who got pregnant. We want to help that young girl understand that she has the resources and the support to bring that young child into the world.
Amen.
That's what we need to do next in the pro-life movement. All right, yes, sir. But you don't understand. You're good.
Many of us have grandchildren that are getting married and they don't know if they can afford a house, let alone the high property taxes.
Yes.
What are you going to do about that, sir?
Great question. Questions on young people getting into the housing market and being able to afford it, especially property taxes. Number one, I support what the governor is trying to accomplish. I hope it passes. If it doesn't pass, we are going to bring it back next year as governor. And we're going to use the Tax and Budget Commission, which is in the state's constitution, to study all aspects of property taxes and fees in our state, top to bottom, to modernize that system, eliminate homestead property taxes on homeowners in our state. And if we can't get there, then to provide relief to seniors on fixed income and young people trying to get into housing. That's on the tax side. Number two, insurance. We have to reform our state's regulatory insurance markets. We haven't done that in 30 years. And let's be clear, up until very recently, property insurance was kind of cheap. Until recently, the last 5, 6, 7 years. We got to go back in there and retool that entire system and find ways to push down property insurance 20% in our state. We can do that. I actually chaired insurance and banking, the insurance and banking subcommittee, when I was in the Florida House. There were reforms I wanted to do then, but look, that was 2019. The legislature and nobody in Tallahassee wanted to do it. When you're a subcommittee chair, there's only but so much you can get done. And they didn't want to touch it then, but we got to do it now. We're going to do that. Number three, 30% of the cost of a new house is government permitting. 30%. And let's be very clear. I know we were talking about planning and growth and how we protect stuff. Here's how you make things more affordable. It can't take 2 years to put a shovel in the ground. It can't take 9 months to put a shovel in the ground to build a house we have built in this state over and over and over and over again. It's time for government to be efficient and lean and move at the speed of business. So Florida's government is going to be modernized. It's going to move quickly to get out of your way. When that young person's trying to build that home, we don't want $100,000 of the cost in a $300,000 house to be government costs and government delays. That makes no sense. And it doesn't make the walls any thicker. It doesn't make the roof harder. It doesn't make it more energy efficient. That's just government inefficiency living in the past. Listen, I know you got one right there, sir. We all have supercomputers in our pocket now. There is no reason why government still takes forever just for you to get a building permit.
Amen.
And by the way, post-storm in our state, as long as you don't have to change the engineering of your house because FEMA mandates it, and depending on when your house was built, they could mandate it, and there's a rule around it, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds. But if you're just trying to rebuild your house post-storm or fix a piece of it, those permits should be automatic. It should be automatic. The government already gave you the permit to build it in the first place. What are you waiting around for to get another one? That should be automatic permitting. So that's how we actually lower costs in our state for your grandkids. And by the way, what you want for your grandkids, Mrs. Donalds wants for her sons. And you may not have met my wife. All right, yes, sir.
Your answer will go ready. Thank you.
Okay, yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that the value of a human life should depend on whether or not they're married or have children? Because the current Florida free kill law actually does state that. And if you were elected governor, would you repeal that law, and why?
Well, first of all human lives are sacred. All human lives are sacred, regardless of how the law is interpreted. I'm aware that the legislature and the governor were going back and forth on the free kill law. I think he vetoed it last year. I'm not sure if it got back to his desk this year. I'm just not sure if it got. Did it get back or not? I'm asking.
No.
It did not get back?
It died in the House floor.
It died on the House floor?
Caps.
They disagreed on caps. Listen, I think caps is where this whole thing is going to really begin and end with that piece of legislation. By the way, I kind of want to change the name of it. Like, free kill just sounds weird. That's not something
But that's technically, yeah, what
I
it is.
agree. I know the issue. I'm aware, but I think we got to work on that. But I think caps is where this is going to begin and end, because you're going to have members of the legislature in new legislative leadership who are going to disagree with Speaker Perez and President Albritton in this last legislative session. So it changes every year. I want to make sure that if something goes wrong on the operating table, that the family has an ability to be made whole, because every life is sacred. At the same time, and I want to be very clear with you, there's the difference between politics and being truthful. At the same time, we do have to be mindful of medical malpractice costs. Because the truth is, medical malpractice costs do go back into the system in terms of the cost of care. So that's why the governor wanted to see caps. That's literally why. That's what he put in his signing statement. That's why he wanted to see caps. We're going to take it up because the legislature is going to move it again, and then we will make sure that the best thing happens, obviously for family members who lost a loved one, but also for the state of Florida as a whole. Yes, ma'am.
I love that you're a constitutionalist, and so am I.
Yes.
I am actually James Madison's second cousin. And
What?
I am. I am James Madison's second
Let me see
cousin.
what you got here.
And I want to bring you something. My constitutional rights are being violated by the state of Florida. And I want to know, as governor, will you make a change for me and everyone who's having their constitutional rights violated as a property owner? They're adversely taking my property
Are you talking
without
eminent domain?
providing me just compensation under the Fifth Amendment taking clause. And that is happening at the hands of the Florida Department of Agriculture, Florida Forestry Service, and FWC.
Okay.
The board on FWC needs to be removed if you become governor. You need to appoint people who are actually qualified to be on that board. People that will actually protect our waters in our state, and they will actually correct the damage that has been done with the excessive spraying that has allowed the floating islands to accumulate and to cause muck to flow from the northern Everglades, which is Lake Kissimmee, through the Kissimmee River, all the way down into
Lake Okeechobee.
Lake Okeechobee and
Yeah.
into the Everglades. There is a giant boondoggle that has been created that is fleecing all of the tax members here in the state of Florida. And I can tell you all about it. And I would love to help you with this situation as a stakeholder on Lake Kissimmee and the Lake Wells Ridge and in the Lake Wells Ridge State Forest. Would you
So-
like my help?
I would, because
I wanna
I want to
talk to
understand.
you.
Well, I want to understand all the issues. I do.
And I will give it to you.
So here's what I will say.
Mhm.
You see that gentleman right there?
Mhm.
Take his card.
Give me your card. I
Take
know
his
the
card.
drill.
No, seriously,
I
because
can't, listen, I'm a Republican lifelong, clearly.
Right.
And I have helped campaign for a lot of our elected politicians that are currently in office.
Okay.
Some of which I no longer support. So, and I don't support Wilton Simpson, and if any of y'all wanna know why, just check out Matt the Welder's webpage. So,
We're with Byron Donalds right now.
yeah, no, I know, but it's a real problem, and it needs to be addressed, and if Byron ends up being our governor, then he's gonna end up with that. That is an intent to sue the state of Florida. That is my demand letter that was served on those agencies I spoke of.
Okay.
So, there's also an ongoing issue with the federal government as well. The Air Force, through the Avon Park bombing range, is also taking people's constitutional rights. They are closing the airspace above their private homes and businesses all the way to the surface of the ground without paying them just compensation. The federal government.
Whoa, hold on. On that one though, let me be clear.
Mhm.
There is a real conversation about essentially what the elevation is of somebody's property.
500 feet.
Yeah, but
I've done the
all I'm
research.
saying is there is a limit to the amount of airspace above your home,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest of it does become federal property.
They're charted
Ma'am,
only to
ma'am.
1,000 feet. We'll talk about
Okay,
it.
we'll
I'll
talk about
explain
it.
it to you. I've done the
We'll
research.
talk about it, and that's fine, and I agree. And if the federal government is wrong, I'll stand with you.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
do appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to thank you for being here and
Yeah.
taking the time to be with us here in Hardee County. My question for you is, we know this popular battle that is coming up about property tax.
Yeah.
And as one of our county commissioners here, one of the biggest concerns we have is about our budget and the effects it's going to be on our budget.
I agree.
Because this is not a one-shoe-fits-all across the state. We're a small county, restrictive on funds, and so I'm trying, what is your plan to protect small counties like Hardee County moving forward if this was to pass?
Commissioner, quick question. Is Hardee, and I don't have it committed to memory, is Hardee already at essentially 10 mils or close to it? No? Okay. Because there's, honestly then, this is where it's going to be a real issue in Hardee. We have the fiscally constraints, which are at 10 mils. What the governor has talked about, and what I do agree with, is that the legislature is going to have to figure out a way, if this passes, to backfill their budgets through, he says, through the catastrophe fund. I say, not the catastrophe fund and insurance, through the rainy day fund, excuse me, or doing it through GR. What I would support is doing a funding formula for those counties. In Hardee, the number one thing we're gonna have to figure out is how do we expand a formula like that to backfill those funds so that you can continue to run operations. My concern with the amendment, and I'm just gonna be clear, my concern with the amendment is that it allows for non-ad valorem assessments. So if you actually read the amendment, non-ad valorem assessments would be allowed. And so I know that there's county and city government who's looking at that right now saying, okay, well then I'm just gonna do this. So we'll see where the voters go. In terms of the revenue source, and this is where the rubber really meets the road, I think we're gonna have to try to figure out what the revenue looks like into the future. And that's just gonna be a raw statistical analysis, not an overarching amendment. And we're gonna have to work through what the dollars look like at each county. It's hard to comment because you don't know if it's gonna pass or not. Now, if the Tax and Budget Commission, if we have to use that to do this vehicle, we are gonna actually create an amendment based upon a county by county assessment and analysis of the last 5 years of your budget and what those revenue caps need to look like. But I gotta tell you, the other side are our young people and our seniors. They don't have the money. So it's one thing to levy the tax, but if they don't have the money, then we gotta figure out another way to still generate revenue in order for you to continue operations here in Hardee or in Collier or anywhere else. And that's really where this whole thing is gonna begin and fall. Honestly.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what's up with the data centers? Talk to me.
Perfect. Same thing?
DeSoto County, we're facing potentially a 1,200 acre data center. It would be the largest one in the whole country. It's a nightmare.
Ma'am, I'm here to assure you, the largest one that they're trying to do in the country right now is in Utah.
Okay.
That's so I just wanna make sure we're all on the same sheet of music, okay?
Okay.
The governor signed legislation a couple of weeks ago that will not allow for your utility bills to go up. The language actually came out of a rate case with Florida Power and Light that happened last year. The legislature took that language, they codified it, the governor signed that into law. In that same legislation, it requires any data center constructed would have to get a consumptive use permit from the water management districts, the same way industry does, ag does, the companies that bottle water and basically pump water out of our aquifers and sell that on the open market, in some respects sell it back to us. Same thing. But here's the last thing, real quick. You have to make sure if you're gonna build one, that the data centers have a contained operational unit where they're recycling that water. We cannot have something where it's just pumping water out of the ground, out of our aquifers. We can't allow for that. So what I've said is, make sure they're on a closed loop system and have them build a water treatment facility on site so that way you're not using our aquifers. You're essentially using some of it to pump in like you do with the pool, and then your filtration system keeps it up. Yes, there'll be some usage because of just evaporation. Again, it happens with our pools, it happens with golf courses, but the amount of use compared to what happened in Northern Virginia will not be in Florida. The third thing, the data center design, I'm here to give you the facts. The data center designs that everybody is seeing online, those are the ones in Northern Virginia. Those are the older designs. The newer designs are more efficient when it comes to water. But we have to take additional precautions in Florida because we can't allow for our aquifers to be drained. If we go down that road, what I want to see is that out of our water treatment facilities, when they treat that water, let those data centers use the water that we treated that went through our water treatment facilities. Use that water. We're not going to drink it. It came out of our water treatment facilities. So use that water. And the other thing when it comes to water overall, last two things, and I'm going to come back to you. Number one, rainwater capture is something that the state of Florida does not do. If we do basically floodplain management, so rainwater, we just make sure it dissipates. When we treat our water at water treatment facilities, we basically pump that out into the Gulf or into the Atlantic Ocean. We actually don't find ways to use that water for irrigation or other purposes. And I think it's time for Florida to really look at that. In order to get down that road, we need a 50-year water plan. Because I just want to be clear, data centers or not, we're going to have more people come to Florida. So we're going to have to think about the futures of our aquifer for ag, for living, for industry, for hospitals, and all the other uses we have of water today. Into the future, we got to think about that. So what I'm saying is we need a 50-year water plan for Florida. We don't have one right now. With respect to the power side of data centers, we also need a 50-year plan for power generation in our state. We don't have one. And so we need that future of power needs to be based around small modular nuclear reactors, micro reactors. The state needs another natural gas pipeline. Hydrogen fuel cells looks to be far more promising today than they ever been. We got to really think outside the box. In terms of land use, the thing that's really pissing me off are these solar farms that are all over the place. Because they don't provide the power that we need. They take up large tracts of land. And here's the kicker that most people don't know. I just passed one coming in. If they decided to decommission that solar field, if it's been in use for 3 years, that land has to sit barren for 3 years before you can reuse it again. And so, like, these are the things as we walk through this. With data centers, it's about power and water and protecting Floridians. As long as we protect Floridians, then okay. In terms of the amount of land that they use, what typically happens is they'll buy the entire, let's just say the farm, they'll buy the entire farm, but the actual footprint is probably 3 to 4 million square feet. That's like, honestly, that's like going to a big mall. Like, that's the actual footprint of the actual facility, even though they bought the entire farm. I don't want these things next to people's homes. That's what they did in Northern Virginia. I don't want that here. Just like, I live on 3 acres in Collier County. I don't want to walk out my door and see a big facility there. I don't want to see that. And I don't think any Floridian does. Yeah.
I understand that there was just a vote to make the distance from the data center to people's homes from 5 miles, or a high school or a school from 5 miles to 1 mile. Did you vote for 1 mile?
Ma'am, I'm not in the legislature.
Oh, sorry.
I'm in Congress. That's in
Well,
Tallahassee.
can you speak to that though?
They're trying to figure out the distance, but I want to be clear. Nowhere in the state is there an industrial center that is 5 miles from a residential neighborhood.
Right, yeah.
We have industrial facilities in the state of Florida that are within 1 mile of residential neighborhoods in our state today. I understand why people are saying the 5 miles. This is the noise situation that people are talking about. And I know that some of them are working through the noise issues in terms of how they build the centers, how they do a mixture between air cooling and liquid cooling, so you dissipate the decibel level so it's not a consistent droning. Like, that's all happening right now, and it's in the specs of what they're trying to build out now. But let's understand, in Florida, we have cement plants that are within 1 mile of residential neighborhoods. Yes, we do. And ma'am, we've had them in our state for 60 years. So I understand, trust me, I understand. Nobody wants to see it next to their house. Nobody wants their health encumbered. I don't want that either. Nobody wants their power bills going up, and nobody wants their water contaminated. We are going to protect Florida's environment. Now, if there's ways to do that, and then also balance industry, well then what's happening in the city of Fort Meade, and they approved one going in, is that the city of Fort Meade is getting 10x the revenue of their entire budget. So there's trade-offs in everything that we do. It's just the way it is.
How do you feel about the fact that the citizens in Fort Meade didn't want it? They've all come out publicly and said, you're going against our wishes.
Hold on. I want to be clear. I understand, ma'am, I understand your frustration. I totally understand how you feel. I really, really do. But we also work in a representative republic. When you, hold on, this is important. When you elect somebody, you are electing them to actually go through the details. I've been in town hall meetings for a decade. I remember during COVID being in town hall meetings, and people were furious about mask mandates here in Florida. And I oppose those mask mandates every single time. I oppose COVID-19 shots every single time. Your job as an elected official is to actually take the angst from the public and balance that with the facts on the ground and the details. What the city of Fort Meade did, they believed, those city commissioners, that they acted in the best interest of the citizens of Fort Meade. I don't live there, but those are those elected officials. They decided that they acted in their best interests.
They found out afterwards that there was information that the city commissioners were not given, and environmental, Earth Justice came in, the lawyers did for Earth Justice, and there's some back and forth on that. I don't know what's going to ultimately happen, but it seems like the people that we're electing aren't actually listening to all the people who are actually electing them.
I just want to be transparent with you.
Issue for Florida, and I'm being transparent with you.
I agree.
Because I'm willing to ask, who wants more development in Florida right now? I mean, most of us don't.
But may I respond to that? Ma'am, let me respond.
Please.
Nobody wants to see more development, but let's also be honest. If we built a wall and there was no more development, our economy would start contracting. And when your economy starts contracting, the people who bring services to your community, they start going other places. And so that creates a whole set of issues that, to be blunt, you do not want to see in your community. We don't want to see that in the state. The truth is, healthy societies and healthy states are growing economically. If you start shrinking economically, you actually undo a lot of the beauty that has helped you get to where you are.
You have to grow up and not out. And what's happening now?
But that goes back to regional planning, which is what I talked about earlier from his question. Well, hold on, man. I'm gonna go on. I gotta move
I was told I was gonna not have water. My well was gonna go dry in Lake Kissimmee.
Okay.
Ma'am, let me go. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
This is a piggyback on the county commissioner's question a few moments ago. I'd like to know your stance on local rule, on home rule. We know that statewide, definitely, we want state rights so the state can, that you're standing strong for what we want in Florida that we decided in Florida. What about the smaller cities, Wauchula, Lake Wales, and even though Polk County is a little bit larger, we don't have any really large cities there.
Right.
So the change in property taxes, that's really not gonna, I don't see, and I lived in Broward County for 20 years, I don't see that affecting the larger counties. They've got so much more tourist industry, they've got more that is not below taxes. Okay, so it's not gonna, there's not their homesteaded property, they've got the off balance of tourists and businesses. But coming up, as you said, more north into central Florida and on up into the Panhandle, the smaller cities like Wales, Wauchula, we're gonna suffer because a lot of that money coming from the homesteaded properties, 3/5 to the county, 2/5 to the school board, and I understand you're not taking the school board, but what is your stance to help those cities that are not going to be getting the income? And we've seen also in this past legislative session and the one before that, more and more of the county and city particularly rule the states wanting to pull away. They want to control those funds. They want to control what they're doing. Speak to us about that, please.
When it comes to home rule, I do support it, but there are limits, and I want to be very direct with you. If there is a city in the state of Florida or a county in the state of Florida that is making decisions that impact the economic fabric of our state, then state power is going to basically rule on that. Because the truth is, the cities and the counties in Florida are in existence because the legislature at some point in time passed legislation and the governor signed it. And so the seat of power is in Tallahassee. That being said, my view is to work with local government and not to just take everything to Tallahassee. I think a lot of this stuff can actually be resolved by working with the cities and the counties to come to an agreement and a resolution so you don't have to go through preemption bills. Because I don't think preemption is the end-all be-all either. I don't. And so I think that's the way you deal with it. Specific to property taxes. And this is where the devil is really going to be in the details. A lot of the analysis is being done right now. I actually have an email from my team. We just got finished going through the county by county, essentially adjustments and what's going to happen with property taxes. There's going to be some moves around commercial potentially. Like I said, non-ad valorums are an issue depending on how they get structured. The legislature could make a decision to engage on non-ad valorem assessments to say what are going to be the caps or the limits around that. But at its core, we have to make sure that Florida is affordable. And the taxes to deal with a lot of these things, they just can't go up like they have been. The guys standing outside who are guarding the corner, the guys who are out there, we want to make sure that their salaries get paid. Our firefighters, we want to make sure they get paid. Roads, we got to build them or maintain them. All that stuff needs to happen. So it's really going to come down to, at the end of the day, what do the voters decide? If the voters decide to pass this, then it's going to put the state in a posture where we're going to have to look at how we're going to create the funding to make sure that whether it's Hardee County or any other county in the state, or Wauchula or wherever we are, they can still continue their services like they have been. And by the way, last thing I'll say, the DOGE efforts, those are going to continue. But it's not just going to be for local government. It's also going to be for state agencies. Everybody has to be examined. Everybody's got to find ways to tighten their belt and still deliver services.
Okay, I know you need to ask more questions, but we promised the congressman he has another appointment, and we have promised him that so we either ask more questions or he doesn't have time to meet and greet. When he's through, he's got to dash out of here. So as chairman of the Republican Party, I would like for you to go on the Hardee Republican page and you see where we're bringing all of our candidates in. We always let you know. Hopefully the congressman will come back.
Of course.
Probably after the primary and speak to us.
Maybe. You never know.
But as he's coming through Hardee County, so I'm going to leave it with you, but your team is telling me that we've got to get rolling here either with just a few more questions or...
I'll leave it up to you guys. You want to do questions or...
And make them short, please, so that you can
you.
answer them quickly.
Meet and greet.
Meet and greet.
All right,
That's what
here's
we
what I'm going to do.
basically
I'm going to do 2 questions, but guys, you got to truncate the question.
Mine's easy.
I'm going to do yours, and there's a lady in the back. I got to go to the lady in the back. So I got ladies first. So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You said ladies first.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm currently in college, and I wanted to ask questions like this. Students after graduation here in Florida.
You said what's the plan?
Yes, what's your plan to keep them here and not moving away to other states?
Well, actually, that plan really engages everything we've been talking about this afternoon. We have to find a way to balance industry and growth with our ag and key resources in our environment. And yes, how local governments operate. And it is a balancing act. There's no single one answer, but specific to your question, we need more companies in our state that employ our young kids. But before we even get to that, our young kids need to know what their strengths are in life. Our school system has to prepare kids to go into the workforce before we even start talking about colleges. And I went to FSU, I'm a graduate, 2 degrees, right? One of the things we're doing, we have a plan around making sure that there are personalized success plans for the kids of our state, starting in middle school. So a 7th grader and 8th grader, working with their parents and working with their teacher, we can start to figure out, what's this kid even good at? Then number 2, we have our Launchpad initiative. Junior year, senior year of high school, we want you to be able, if that's where you're going, if you're not going to college, well, go get some on-the-job training. Go get an apprenticeship. Go get an internship. Get the credentialing you need. So when you graduate high school, you can walk directly into a job. I think what's been lost the last 30 years or 40 years in education, we told everybody you had to go to college to be a success. That's not true. The truth is, if you go into a career that speaks to you, you actually have the ability to take on a job, take on another job. I got a truck here. I decided to go out on my own. I hired another person, and before you know it, you built a great business. We have so many entrepreneurs and business owners in our state. They didn't go to college, or they dropped out and they went directly into career. For our college graduates, we want to make sure that the degree you have is economically viable. Not just a degree, because all 2 degrees are not the same. That is a fact. And so if that degree doesn't pan out, we're also looking at adult education, how we revamp that, so that you can quickly get to the next career possible. It's all about you being able to put food on the table and a roof over your head. Last thing I'll say on it, you're a young lady. The pathway to success in life, largely, getting married, having kids, building the dream. God's design is right.
Amen.
It's just right. It works. It works. And so doing that, chasing your dream in your career, that's how it all comes together. My wife and I, we were married 23 years ago. When we got married, I was still working at Cracker Barrel, but now in Naples, and I was moving furniture on the weekend in Sanibel Island. She was a staff accountant at some investment management firm, and on the weekend, she was Kelly Services taking just odd jobs to make it all come together. That's how everybody starts out. We all start out there. We all do. But then it's just your focus, your determination. And the funny thing about having kids, my oldest son is 22, my youngest is 15. When you start having kids, especially when you have them younger, they focus you into what really matters. And then you just start building a life. But anyway, I went kind of far past just college students. But in short, we want to make sure there is an industry here for you. Our economy has been built around agriculture, tourism, healthcare, and construction. In Florida, we are adding finance and aerospace, defense, and tech. So we're a state where we're adding legs to the economic stool, which in part will help some of our local counties deal with these tax shifts that are going to come on. That's important. We also want to make sure that a lot of our counties, mid-sized counties, rural counties, that some industry does come back to those counties, because a lot of them now are fiscally constrained because there was a mill that was closed 30 years ago, and it changed the economic dynamics of that county. We want to see some of that come back. The way you get there, in part, is the regional planning I was talking about at the top. So these aren't just one-off answers, guys. This stuff all comes together. And it comes together for the betterment of your future, which is really all of our future. All right, last question.
Okay, real easy. Will you work with ICE and local law enforcement in deporting the people that have come into this country illegally?
1,000%.
Amen. Thank you.
Oh, they didn't hear you in the back. We were just talking. He said, will I work with ICE and the federal government to deport illegal aliens like we're doing currently under Governor DeSantis? The answer is 1,000% yes, that we will. Thank you. Let's seriously, thank you guys. Look, last thing I'll leave you with is, I just try to be direct with you. It's easy to throw out talking points, which is why I wanted to open up the floor for Q&A, because your questions help me do a better job about what needs to happen in our state going forward. One thing you'll know from me, I'm just gonna tell you what I think. I don't do hide in the ball. I don't really play politics, even though obviously I'm running in a political campaign. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I'm gonna tell you what I don't. The only thing I'll ask you is, just be candid with me, and I will be candid with you. And that's the way we prepare our state for another generation of success to stay #1 in all of America. Thank
you. Anyway, guys, that's it. I think Byron Donalds did a really good job at answering those tough questions. I think he handled it really well. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next event. See ya.